Good evening and welcome to Tntv News at 4. I am Atta Charles. Vice President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, Yemi Osibanjo, has reiterated that the federal government is committed to providing a healthy working environment for both federal and civil servants. He said this during his meeting with civil and public servants in Abuja.
Impact that sector of the economy, it means there'll be fewer jobs. So everything that happens in the public service that delays always has an impact on jobs. It always has an impact on the future. So when a potential business owner wants to register a company, when he wants to collect a tax clearance certificate, or obtain NAFDAC registration, or SON certification, or obtain expatriate quotas, or any other papers or approvals or certification from government, and we do not willingly and efficiently help him or her, willing prosperity that he would have created. Every time we say, come back next week to someone for something we can do today, we postpone the prosperity of one person, but in reality we postpone the prosperity of so many who would have earned something from that business. So every time that a public officer is an obstacle to business in any way, he attacks the prosperity of our economy and he attacks the prosperity of our future. It means that our children will not find jobs. Great economies and great nations, prosperity and abundance of nations and communities are created by men and not spirits. And I want to emphasize this point, that what makes nations great, those who make nations great are you and I, men, not spirits. No matter how long, and we're a very religious country, no matter how long we pray and fast, our country cannot grow without some of us deciding to do the hard work that make nations work. No matter how
At Omorelu community in Ikwere local government area of Rivers State, at least 4 people have been reportedly killed, including one person reportedly beheaded. It was gathered that suspected cultists invaded Omorelu on Monday night, killing 4 persons, including one identified as Ugechuku Eyinda. The other 3 victims were simply identified by their nicknames, Banigo, Too Much Money, and Scatter. But the police are still going on investigative report and will also be confirming, I'm sure, as a couple of days pass by. Moving on, House Deputy Speaker of Assembly Yusuf Lassan has ruled out coup plots possibility. He said this during a session in the House.
Representatives of government agencies, civil society organizations, and other groups involved in the electoral process in the country are all gathered here in the House of Representatives. They're here for the public hearing organized by the House Committee on Electoral and Political Parties Matters on 12 proposed amendments to the Electoral Act 2010. While acknowledging that the 2015 elections was an improvement to past elections, the lawmakers say more needs to be done.
Experience has shown that good electoral system governed by an efficient and effective legal framework is an inescapable prerequisite for the conduct of free, fair, and credible election. Enthronement of good governance, which will ensure peace and stability in the polity.
Making his own remarks, the Deputy Speaker points out that democracy remains the best form of governance.
Having practiced democracy for 17 years unbroken, it's 18 years now, unbroken, I wouldn't know why some military people want to think that it is time again to come back to the governance of Nigeria. It's going to be a little bit difficult. Democracy at its worst is still the best form of government.
It is then time to hear from groups at the public hearing.
The Nigerian Bar Association also supports the inclusion of diaspora voting in the electoral process. However, the exact time and period and mechanics of its introduction and realization must be left to the electoral management body to decide. We suggest that the amendment of the section to allow the use of any appropriate technological device in the accreditation and voting process. However, we must avoid naming the exact device in the law. As we are aware, technology keeps evolving and keeps changing.
It is very important that we have seen in this country a political party member leave his political party in the morning, in the evening he becomes a member of another political party. If you must leave your political party, it is very important that when you leave the seat in which you have advocated for right from the beginning, so that if you are that popular, then you can convert to the population around you.
We are saying that political parties either in terms of their positions within the party structure or list of candidates for elections must include 35% women representation.
With representatives from about 38 African countries and over 250 delegates, the 2017 African Digital Television Development Seminar has started in Beijing to discuss ways of facilitating digitization in Africa. Minister of Information Lai Mohammed, who led the Nigerian delegation, called on African ministers to find areas of advantage in their respective countries and leverage on them to develop African digital economy.
Still living up to expectations, 7 years in a row, the 2017 Star Times Digital TV Development Seminar attracted an even bigger crowd than that of the year before. The 7th African Digital TV Development Seminar opened at the Sunrise Kempinski Hotel in Yanchi Lake with the theme Universalize Digital TV and Enjoy Smart Life. Star Times President Pang Xingxin led the stream of speeches from Chinese government representatives and experts in the digital field. Minister of Information, Culture and Tourism Lai Mohammed focused on the digital economy with emphasis on the animation industry. He said Nigeria needs to look at her areas of advantage and drive the economy from there.
Believe me, if we look at the digital economy today, in the area of film industry, in the area of animation, especially, be able to grow the contribution of the creative industry to our GDP to up about 10%. Nigeria is already the third biggest country in terms of production. I'm talking about our film industry. Now, which means we already have a rich content, we already have a platform. We only need to deepen it more.
As more speakers explored ways to facilitate cooperation and digitization of Africa with China's support, the minister said China and Africa must work together at all levels. He called on Star Times to work more closely with the relevant Nigerian authorities for a win-win outcome. The China-Africa Digital TV Development Seminar has been organized and sponsored by the Star Times Group since 2011.
The Nigerian Navy has restated its commitment to partner with Cameroonian counterpart towards protecting and securing the maritime domain within the Gulf of Guinea. Flag Officer Commanding Eastern Naval Command Rear Admiral James
Nigerians, our fearless officers and men of the Nigerian military are winning the war against Boko Haram. Today, all occupied territories have been recovered and Boko Haram has been degraded. Our affected brothers and sisters are getting their lives back. However, they are now after you and me. In our mosques, churches, schools, motor parks, markets, entertainment centers, and public gatherings. Be vigilant. Be security conscious. Report suspicious persons, objects, and movements to the police and other security agencies. The security of our nation is a duty for you and me. Nigeria unite against terrorism.
This message is brought to you by the Federal Ministry of Information and Culture.
Nigerians, our fearless officers and
This is Tntv News at 4. I am Atat Charles. Now back to the news. The State House correspondent of Channels Television, Chukwuma Onukusu, is dead. Is dead. Mr. Onukusu died on Tuesday morning at a private clinic in Abuja after battling with an undisclosed ailment. The chairman of State House Press Corps, Ubali Musa, told reporters on Tuesday the deceased had reported for Channels Television since 1998. He covered successful administrations since Olusegun Obasanjo. Now moving on to business report. In the first quarter of 2017, the nation's gross domestic product GDP contracted by 0.52% year-on-year basis, representing the fifth consecutive quarter of contraction since the first quarter of 2016. This is 0.15% higher than the rate recorded in the corresponding quarter of 2016. Now what we're saying in the visuals are the contribution of oil and non-oil sectors, with the oil sectors contributing just 8.90%. Now the real gross domestic product growth rate of oil and non-oil sectors over the couple of quarters, starting from the first quarter of 2016 to the third quarter of 2016, we see the non-oil gross domestic product growth from 89.98 to a growth of 91.91. Now we did see a growth on the fourth quarter of 2016 with 93.25, and a decline as in the first quarter of 2017. This year we had 91.10, a decline of 0.52%. Now in the non-oil and gas sector, we did see a growth of 6.75% in the fourth quarter of 2016, and then a growth of over 2.5% as we did see in the first quarter of 2017, a growth of 8.90%. Now moving on to the next graph. During the quarter, aggregate gross domestic product stood at over 26 million in nominal terms. And we were seeing the graph there in the first quarter over 2.5. We did see in the second quarter a drop to 1.91, and in the third quarter 1.61. Now in the fourth quarter of 2016, we did see an increment from 1.61 to 1.76, and then the first quarter of 2017 we did see another increment of 1.82, but cannot be compared as the first quarter of 2016, where we did see register 2.5. and in the graphs we're seeing, in terms of services, 55.49% covered the graph, and then agriculture just had 21.35%, and industries had 23.2%. The highest was going for services. Real growth rates by sector on year-on-year basis, we did see that the aggregate gross domestic product stood at over 26 million in terms of nominal terms. Moving on to the next graph, compared to the 22 million in the first quarter of 2016, which represents a nominal GDP growth at 17.6%. That's what we're seeing at the end of the first quarter of the gross domestic product report for 2017. Real quarterly gross domestic product growth for first quarter, we did see a decline of 0.52%, which is a loss of 1.73%. Now on the floor of the power markets in Port Harcourt, we are going to be seeing what $1 is being exchanged for. Yesterday we did see that $1 is being exchanged for 375 naira and sold for 380 naira. We're seeing today that it's being bought for 375 naira and being sold at 381 naira, an increase of 1 naira. Well, in Port Harcourt you get it for 381, and then in Lagos and in Abuja you get it for 380 naira. That's if you're selling. That's where you're seeing the two sterries. And the Great Britain pounds, as of yesterday, was being sold for 490 naira and bought for 480 naira, remains unchanged. As we see today, still being bought for 480 naira and sold for 490 naira at the power market here in Port Harcourt. Now the euros is following closely with the Great Britain pounds, which is not a new thing. We did see yesterday a change being bought for 415 naira and sold for 420 naira, and we're still seeing that unchanged at 415 naira today and still selling for 420 naira. But quite remarkable, in Lagos and Lagos and Abuja, you might be selling your euros for 400 415 naira and buying for 410 naira. It depends on where you're getting your dollars or your nairas. Now moving on to interbank rate and also exchange rates. The Western Union and MoneyGram is the next graph that will be coming on. And what we did see is quite change. Other currencies at the parallel market, we are seeing that the Nigerian naira is being bought for 88 Ghana cedi and sold for 88 naira and sold for 98 naira. We did say it's quite not a change compared to what we see yesterday, but if you look at it from the graph, you see last week we were buying 1 Ghana cedi for 90 naira and then selling it for 100 naira, so it's quite a decrease. And in the surface, we have two surfaces: the Central African surface, which is used in Cameroon, Gabon, and some other Central African currencies. We did see one surface being bought for 640 and sold at 660. And then for the West Africa surface, the next one we see 660 and sold for 670. Now moving on to the interbank and the MoneyGram exchange rate. In case you're importing from, you have people outside where you're buying your rate, you're using your ATM card or your POS services. If you're getting from a GTB bank, you're using the GTB bank POS, the rate is going for 502 naira for 1 Great Britain pounds. And if you're using EcoBank ATM, it's been going for 360 naira for US dollars. While for also the EcoBank, if you're using cash transfer, you're selling the euros for 407 naira. Moving on online, GTB Bank, if you're doing online GTB Bank transfer for $1 US, you'll be charged 390 naira as of today. And if you're using POS transfer transactions for 1 Great Britain pound with a GTB Bank ATM, you're going to be charged 504 naira. And $1 US online transactions is 385 naira. Quite remarkable comparing of what we saw last week when the GTB Bank ATM was being charged for 290 naira. Meanwhile, for the Canadian dollars, we still see it unchanged at 290 naira. That wraps up our news at 4. Enjoy the rest of your day, and tomorrow join us as we talk human rights with an expert. I am Tat Charles, and enjoy the rest of your day.